Hi, everyone. Good evening. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to our 8th Fulbright Forum of the 2010 program year. Tonight is a very special occasion as we are presenting a joint forum with not one, but two junior researchers, Emilie Chu and Grace Ha. We will first hear from Emilie, who will present K-pop mirroring Korea, or Korea mirroring K-pop. In her presentation, she will examine the growing international presence of K-pop and discuss some of the less known factors behind its industry dominance. Her research has linked Korean pop music and Korean culture through the lenses of history, society, and industry. Emilie graduated from Rice University in 2009 with a bachelor's degree in Asian Studies and English. She notes that her personal experiences with pop music and her love for language and the arts have inspired her to undertake this Fulbright project. Afterwards, Grace will present Haenyeo in Jeju and the future of marine conservation. In her presentation, she will discuss the curious fisherwoman of Jeju Island. Her research has focused specifically on the implications that this disappearing way of life may have on ecological conservation efforts in the future. Grace graduated from Cornell University in 2010, where she developed her interest in marine biology and environmental conservation. In the future, she hopes to earn a doctorate in marine biology and work in the fields of science or education to promote understanding of ocean ecosystems. Following tonight's presentations and a brief Q&A session, I hope that you will join us for the light reception on the third floor. And now, without further delay, please join me in welcoming 2010 Fulbright Junior Researcher Emilie Chu.
Oh. Sorry, it disappeared, so I made a new title, and I guess the old one showed up now, so there's kind of an echo. It's a little weird, but so the title is K-pop mirroring Korea, or Korea mirroring K-pop, and it's not trying to bring any assumptions in, it's just to stimulate kind of the conversation and what I was wondering when I came in, and more as I continue my research over the past year. I was looking at lyrics and visual presentation of songs through music videos or through artist presentation, what they wore, how they performed on stage, and then connecting that with history and culture, modern and in the past, and as well as the industry values and industry systems. So with all those connections, I would see K-pop influencing society, but also could see how the roots of history and society were influencing K-pop, and there's a constant back and forth. And my original title when I applied was Cultural Expression and Representation in Korean Popular Music. I think the concepts of expression and representation are very important in the arts, as well as in the international sense of societies and globalization. And there's a lot of that representation going on in K-pop to other countries with the Hallyu wave. So, a little background, and of course I want to give thanks to the Fulbright Commission here, Mrs. Shim, the Fulbright program back in the US, my advisor, Dr. Hyunjun Shin. He's a pop music critic and scholar who helped me with a lot of resources. Mr. William Young, he's the CEO of an entertainment company based in Los Angeles, but he's a Korean American, and he helped me find more industry resources here, as well as locate and connect me with people to interview. Yonsei University, we're allowed to access and use their library resources, as well as those who supported me during my application. So thank you to everyone. So I'm going to go into first a little bit background of a song and a record and modern industry, how a song gets made, just to give a little more background. But before I do that, I want to explain about my interest in this. So I've come from someone who's personally really loved music and been affected by music. It's a way that I've learned more about my Asian heritage, more about American culture. So lyrics have always been really important to me, and popular, especially through popular music, because my parents didn't know anything about popular music and American, maybe some Taiwanese, but they didn't talk about it. We just learned classical music and learned piano and violin all the time. Guys, a lot of people here are probably familiar with that. But, in college, I got much more interested in making music and the process of production. And so I want to go into how a song is different from a record, because my project is looking at songs, though the record is factored in with the media and the industry. So a song is strictly the words and the melody. It's the responsibility of the songwriters, the lyricists, and the composers. Sometimes a songwriter does both. Sometimes they have teams for melody and the words. And sometimes you have the legendary teams that make great songs throughout decades. The record is talking about the craft of the recording. So there's this quote from John Berhaney. I'll read out loud. It says, "Today the craft of making a recording involves the combined skills of singers, musicians, arrangers, producers, and recording engineers. The appeal may be based primarily on any combination of ingredients aside from words and melody. A powerful vocal performance, an artist or group with a unique identity or sound, a great arrangement, or business considerations, such as timing or promotion." So this differentiation, I think, is very important to remember when we're looking later. I'm going to show a bunch of Korean lyrics and videos. And you can kind of see where the concentration goes on whether it's the song or the record and the record making. To give a little more background on why I enjoy lyrics, why I think it's important, these are a few quotes from the same book by John Berhaney. This is kind of a standard book he wrote for people who are interested in business and the craft of songwriting. He's also the original founder of the LA Songwriters Workshop. So he has a lot of industry experience, and one of his quotes that I thought was really relevant was on this song from 1979. He's talking about Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive." So this song is over 25 years old, but it's still well known. People can mouth the lyrics, sing along at karaoke. It's played widely at big parties, maybe even just at weddings. But his point is that great groove and production are important. Of course, it's music. It's about sound. It's about movement, audio physically. But the way that the lyric plays in is that he says the song that has a lyric idea can make its popularity continue long after the groove and production would have been burned out by repetition. And then also on the other side, again, you know, I buy records and CDs too because I love the music, I love the sound, and you enjoy them as a listening experience, but I agree that great lyrics make it a much more enriching experience, and it doesn't have to be something really deep and profound, but maybe creative, and if it's fun, it plays with the language, or it makes a little point aside from using cliches. And so that concept of great lyrics, I feel, is applicable to both records that are just for fun or for supposed to be more touching, and across all genres. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some charts I found. Some of you were here during the Jeju midterm presentation, and I talked a little bit about difficulty finding charts, and that still stands. It was very difficult to find physical records and resources. There are some online, but there are very few. Resources are actually very dispersed and disorganized in Korean, especially what they make available. The problem is that a lot of times all these records are often tied with government organizations, and every time the administration changes and the government organization changes as well, the sector that's in charge of making these charts will get reorganized. So they get a new name, they try to come up with a new system and way of evaluating the songs, as well as in 2002 they had an account for all the digital sales that were beginning with the digital industry. So actually what's available online I've found has been maybe up to the mid-90s, but you'll find gaps, especially when the government changed and restructured and stopped taking records during that time, or at least making them available. A lot of these are originally from MIAK, Music Industry Association of Korea, but the MIAK shut down in 2009, stopped records a little bit before that, and this website had to retrieve through a web archive. So the links on the side, actually this one's from Coca, which is still available online, but later I'll show you MIAK records, which give more detail, and the links on the side for that one and how you can access it. But this is Coca, so it's actually very similar to the MIAK records, but you can tell they only give the album name, the artist, and then the company. And the original records had much more detailed information, how many sales, what kind of genre it was put in. So I'm going to run through these records so you can see kind of what was going on the past decade that I examined Korean music. So I was looking from 2000, 2001 to 2009. I wanted one decade to look through something that was recent because there were so many changes going on this past decade. Digitalization, Hallyu on a very large scale, as well as personally the music of Korea that I first found out about in K-pop, which was around 2004, 2005. So here in 2001, we have number one artist in VA with its album Yonga. These are all album sales, by the way, physical album sales. Probably no one here really remembers VA or knows Yonga, I'm guessing. Okay, so we'll go to number two. It's okay, I didn't either, but it's really interesting to look at these charts because what I found out while I was looking through these was what I knew about K-pop, the artists I knew, and then kind of the difference when you saw the highest selling records, which were ones I didn't know at all, and a lot of really well-known artists, you'll see like B or Seven, Rain, they'll be toward the bottom or not even the top 10. But I was seeing this difference between what was pushed as Hallyu and what Korean, at least according to these hopefully semi-reliable records, what Korean people were really buying and listening to. But number two is g.o.d, and they're a really well-known group, kind of an idol group. People still remember them, they're still active. This is in 2001, before sales were going down. So this is when they sold over 1 million records. And this was their fourth album. The song that is known for this one is Gil, which I'll be showing later, Road. But they were really big and they did a 100-day tour. Sales were up. Then we're going to go into 2002. And this is when things are starting to change. There's more digitalization. You'll see some more names that you recognize. So there's Cool, which is probably more famous locally than internationally. Rapper group, Brown Eyes. I don't know if people remember them, but they're connected to Brown Eyed Soul, Brown Eyed Girl. So modern R&B was making its way in, and Brown Eyes are known for combining that with Korean melodies. You can see Boa it's her top selling record in Korea with number one. She actually debuted the year before under SM. And in 2003, can I see how many people in this room recognize the names of the first three artists here? Kim Go-mo, Lee Soo-young, Cho Seong-mo. Can people raise their hands? Okay, so like 1/3, 1/2. That's not bad. That's not bad. These are all older singers, kind of more ballad style singers. Right now, they're known as very respected, established ballad singers. Then in fourth place we have Lee Sung, modern R&B. In fifth place again it's Boa. So it's really interesting because the ones people I think, especially of the Hallyu generation and the international community, are more familiar with are kind of a little after the top three or a little more toward the fringes, YG, SM, YG. But this was a lot more evident after looking at these charts. So 2004, Seotaiji came back, 7th issue, big sales. 2004 was, I think 2004 was a really interesting year. I'll get to that later. It's a continuation though, but you can see number one was Seotaiji with his 7th album. It's not really his 7th album because it's solo, but they call it his 7th, continuing from Seotaiji wa Aidol. But all the big artists, 동방신기, 동방신기, 신화, BoA, even SG Wannabe, more 동방신기, 7B is at number 17 here, g.o.d is at 18. All the big companies we know are all more toward the bottom. So this is really evident in this year. And I think people can remember songs maybe by 동방신기 or B or 7, but I don't think that many people who know K-pop from Hallyu will recall Seotaiji's title song from this album. So it's definitely showing how much it's different from local versus international. So these are the original records I was talking about that I had to go back to retrieve. It's more in Korean, but you can see how much more detailed it is with dates, sale numbers, genre. It says Seotaiji is rock genre, Lee Soo-young is gayo, Korean pop, Kim Haru is ballad. So I'll go through these really quick so we can get to the other things. But here in 2005, was kind of the nebulous year. I don't think too many people remember what was going on, but SG Wannabe and Kim Jong-kook were really big. Here are the sale numbers. SG Wannabe was rising a lot. Here you can compare 300,000 physical CD sales compared to the number 2, which was around 160,000. 2006, we're getting into idol pop more. 동방신기's O album and Shinhwa 2, SG Wannabe. This is actually also the year that Super Junior was getting to be really active, and they had probably the most downloaded song with You, but because it's a digital sale, it's not shown here. Oh, sorry. The pictures a little shifted down, but here again are the sales. And you can see 동방신기 and SG Wannabe, more than you would think from fan club numbers, are pretty tied in record sales. 2007, SG Wannabe still going strong. Super Junior now is on the charts. Epic High is entered in. So we're getting more into names we recognize. And then we go into 2008, 2009. This was the gap year. If you remember, 2009 is when the MIAK disbanded because of government restructuring. And so I tried really hard to look for 2008, 2009 records. I couldn't find them. So I used their sources, Googling, and their alternate sources, more commercial charts, as well as there's a big site called Soompi. Maybe some people have heard of it. It's mainly a K-pop forum, but they have their own weekly rating system, and they also have an annual system. So I kind of went by that for 2008 and 2009 when I was looking at songs. And then there's Kao now, or Kao, which means center, and it was just made last year, released last year by the Ministry of Culture, and it's in conjunction with the new music division of the government, which is called the Korean Music Content Industry Association. So they're trying to combine offline and online sales now, and you can see they have all those categories, Jonghap, which is comprehensive, Gukne, which is just looking at domestic market, and Gukwe, which is international market. So you'll see more English-speaking songs there. So this is what they have, but it's really misleading. If you click on the side and you try to do 2009, it will not have any records in 2009. So it's really only 2010 and 2011. So it's very, very recent. Okay, so let me check the time really quick. How much time do I have left just to gauge the videos? Okay. So I'm going to go into looking at the lyrics, starting with this really standard ballad. If you remember from the chart, probably not because there are a lot, but remember the chart, Jo Sung-mo was at the top. He had 2 albums during this year. Top 2 places were taken by him, and he's a very standard respected ballad singer known for her sweet voice and sweet lyrics as well. So I'm going to go to the video really quick. Let's hope this works. Okay, I don't think the video part is working, the visual, so I'll get it to where the audio starts and then put it back to where the lyrics are on the screen. Okay, this is kind of crazy, so I'm just gonna play the audio file. Sorry about this. I think it's the connection. That was just almost Do You Know? And as you can hear from the sound as well as looking at the lyrics on screen, it's a very sweet song, but also kind of tragic. Asking, do you know? Obviously, she probably doesn't know. with imagery. The imagery which is something I saw a lot, staring at your back from a distance, kind of this melancholy and this very devoted love. Even if I'm born again 100 times, I wouldn't be able to find a better place because you wouldn't be here. It's very wholehearted and devoted. And so this is a sample of a standard ballad song, very sweet sounding, very sweet lyrics, very pure-hearted. And it's kind of, you'll see patterns recur, so let's go to the next one. So as I was saying before, 2001 was a big year for g.o.d. This g.o.d is a boy band, and this is back when they had all their members, and they were at the height of their popularity. I think this song is really interesting because, and it's one of the reasons why I like g.o.d songs, is they go a little bit away from the standard love topic, and they have to talk about life, questioning where they are. If people remember, they had a big song before in one of their earlier albums called 어머님께, or To Mother, and it just says familial issues and being poor, and it's more tied on family values. g.o.d is under JYP, and Sidus, though, it was kind of a joint management project, and their sound is a little more American, a little more modern. It's got some Americanized R&B elements in it, so I'll let you listen while we look at this as well. Okay, so you can tell it's kind of laid back style. It's got a rapping verses, and I'm gonna fast forward to the chorus because I want you to see this format of rapping verses and then melodic choruses. This is the chorus. So then back to the verse. So this is a standard pop formula that you'll see coming up in terms of the music as well as the actual singers of the entertainers or the artists, whatever you wish to call them. But they're designated roles. There are people who do only the verses and the raps. There are people who are the vocalists who do the choruses and the bridges and wild ad-libs in the background. Oh, something interesting though is the first member, you'll see fans wrote this, so they put it by member. So the first member who sings K-Sung, he left the group later, and he had a quote in a Times article on K-pop before, but he was complaining that being in the music industry, he felt like he was just a lounge lizard. It was using some Korean slang, but he felt like all he did was go on shows all the time and act as entertainment objects, but who didn't really work for, I guess, what he wanted to work, so he actually switched into acting later. In 2002, we have Boa's #1 song. Well, no pun intended, but I meant her highest selling song as well as her song called #1. She's under SM. She's a dance artist. What's interesting about this is I looked at the lyrics first when I saw this song, and I know she's a dance artist and a pop artist, and the song seems so sad and very poetic. When I was trying to translate this and I had help with a native Korean speaker, my language buddy. So we're both trying to decipher this. So it's very metaphorical, aside from the English insertions. But we were trying to figure out, I was like, I'm always confused. Who's speaking in this song? Is it she's talking to someone or someone speaking to her? Because they don't really put subjects. And so we thought she was speaking to the moon. And then when you watch the music video, it's very obvious. There's a big picture of the moon. But I don't hear in this translation, she's speaking about the moon, but using the moon as like a conduit between her and her love interest. But then when you see this music video, it's totally at odds with what I thought it might sound like. It's very happy, and she's definitely smiling throughout the whole thing and dancing. So you can just take a look really quickly. I'll search for words to say. My sadness will become cloudy. Let's see, what's a good line? Let's see. When the crescent shaped moon passes, I'll take the place of the sadness and change it to light. Show me the way down this path. And then she finishes with "You're still my number one." So let's go to, I just remembered I can't show you the video. Okay, just take my word for it. If you look it up, she is dancing, she is happy, she's riding in a car with the top down, and she's having a good time. So I was a little confused, but there are discrepancies like this. Even though you can see how nicely people would say it's written, how poetic it is, what kind of sentiment it's coming from. And there's this kind of disconnect with the artist who's representing the music and what the song actually says. And you can probably guess, she didn't write this song, she didn't produce this song, she didn't compose this song. SM entertainment artists usually don't. And she's definitely more of a project and later went into Japan. So, who sang with me? This 2003 was entering of R&B music in a very mainstream way in Korea. You can just take a quick look at the lyrics. It's more about love. It's trying to have a more thug approach and be real. In the music video, he has cornrows and bandanas and big jerseys on. So it's a totally different genre and sound they're going for, but the lyrics are still quite innocent and quite devoted. As you can see, I can love you even if you hate me. I can be happy if I can only see you. So, 날 미워해도 사랑할 수 있는데, 난 너만 보면 행복할 수 있는데. And of course, there's also that tragedy of why are you the one pushing me away? Why do you hurt me? And then the chorus, he's saying, but I can understand it's you reacting in your love because you're hurt as well. So, still kind of the same type of lyrics and same sentiments, even with different sound. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little more about 2004 because like I said, it was really interesting with Seotaiji's new album. And then you have all these new pop acts that popped up in 2004, including Dongbang Shingi. So Seotaiji came out in 1992, known for being really revolutionary in terms of bringing a lot of new sounds and bringing up a lot of controversial topics up in his music about Korean education, Korean government, rules and systems and power. He continues that, though he switches completely to rock music once he came back from his hiatus. So this song was just one of the main songs from this album called Robot. It's a little more poetic, but it's talking about kind of lost childhood and how human connection is gone. And he's connecting that with the robot thing. He says, I don't have the sense of a human anymore. I only have hopes as a disabled person with a broken heart. And he also says, I can't bear to see the corrupt wind. Who am I? Where am I? So there's this loss of identity, this longing for former times or just for something that's more human to him. There's mention of his mother measuring his height, but everything seems to have come at a standstill. So this is also, you can tell, quite deep, quite poetic, and probably quite personal as well to how he feels about Korea after coming back or about the industry. And then to contrast this, a bunch of other groups we're gonna, the Shinhwa, Seven, Dongbang, Shingi were all to the top. So Shinhwa left SM Entertainment after a big court dispute. After their contracts ended, it was a pretty famous case, but this was their first song under their new company called Brand New. Brand new start for Shinhwa. But these lyrics, they didn't write this either, probably, though they probably got to put in more input after leaving SM. But look at this chorus. You will fall into my eyes, no one will be able to win over me. Like the perfume on your chest, let me be sprayed over you so you can always breathe me in. And this is taken from the English translation, so maybe in the translation some of the poetic side is lost or the allure from when you hear it in Korean, but I've heard this part before. The next part's the rap in English that I think one member helped write. And he says, if I take you out to shop, you go, wow. If I take you places that you want to go, hit me from the back, don't stop now, let's go. Hit it, bust it one more. So this is a problem throughout when a lot of groups use English. It's getting better now that they have more Korean Americans and more collaborations, but one thing is that the English is not cohesive with the whole song, and it's not cohesive in itself. It's like a novelty factor. One part maybe is because of the rhymes that you can put in, but it doesn't make sense with the whole song. It's just, you can tell this song is a dance song. So it's all about the sound and the feeling, and not much thought was probably given into what these lyrics would mean. Which is okay, you know, for a fun song. Then we have Hug from Dongbang Shingi's their debut song. This is an example of very innocent love. They're singing, for one day I would like to be the bed in your room. I want to be your kitten. And this is a lot of metaphor too, wanting to be things that someone they like owns. But this is kind of innocent love, and this is also a formula. If I had more time to show more examples, but you can find millions of them, of very these innocent pictures. And then again, Seven with his second album, which was very popular, is more again a tragic love, very wholehearted, sad breakup, but I still love you theme. SG Wanna Be continued 2005. These are just more, obviously, the stereotypical prototype love lyrics. This actually is a really good example of what you'll see in Korean dramas as well. And they're tied together, the drama music industry. So it must have been a sin to love you so much. I hid you away because I thought you'd leave. So this is another song from the same year that was very popular. And their songs are very well done. They got very good critical and popular reception. It's definitely pop ballad genre. And then this is from the Golden Disc Awards, which is like Korea's Grammys. I took a screenshot, and it started in 1986, but it only went up to 1990. And you can see kind of SG Wanna Be was tied with Dongbang Shingi, Girls' Generation. But you'll see the difference in what we know and what maybe names you don't recognize with the older ones. 2006, Super Junior, more dance genre. We're getting more into repetition. Songs that are really fast and don't always make sense. Like, get your tarot cards and read from me, and I'll try to find your ideal guy. And then we go into Clear Skin Like Milk. And the whole chorus, though, which you can see here, it's easier on the Korean side, because I can't stop thinking about you, girl. Here is a really good example of using English lines for repetition, and especially as the main part of the chorus. Same part. I don't know if this is just me, but I don't really get what the rap means. It's translated. I remember memories from your unfamiliar scene. And when I look at you, your affable stare makes my heart cry out. So the raps often are a part of the formula in pop, but they often don't go with the rest of the song. And 2007 was also a big year. We had Kojima by Big Bang, as well as This Was the Year of Tell Me. by Wonder Girls, and I was studying abroad this year, and I heard these songs all the time. And I was in a dongari, and they sang those songs all the time, and they danced the dances too, a lot. But everyone knew these songs were on the radio. It's playing in shops everywhere, and people were really excited because they said Big Bang was bringing in a new sound. And something a little different is that G.o.d, a member of this group, is credited with writing the song and the lyrics. And it's quite well done, the whole song, in terms of production, rhythm, and the way the lyrics go. But you can tell it's still the same themes of love, frustrated love, and then the strange rap with like, it's very distinct. I can't play anything for you guys right now, but he goes, "Drop that, babe," and I have no idea what he means in the rap. Okay, and then 2008, Dongbang Shingi. Here's a little bit of variation, and there are other examples of this. Wonder Girl's So Hot, especially now, it's very popular, but kind of a self-asserting song, usually playing off of sexiness or possession or some kind of appeal. This is Dongbang Shingi's last album before they broke up. And then we go into more recent 2009 with the digitalization sounds that started credited to 2007 with Big Bang. They're really exemplified in G. And this year was also Sorry Sorry by Super Junior. So again, you look in the chorus, G, 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 baby, baby, baby. And if you look in Super Junior's Sorry, 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 Sorry. So again, these patterns are popping up. And again, this innocent love is recurring again. It's very innocent lyrics, "You're so handsome," "I'm so shy." Okay. So, see how much time I have. Okay, I'll be really quick. Let's go through these. So as I was saying, there are these common themes and tropes, a lot of them centered on love or relationships. And this is something that's very interesting. I think you find very prevalent in Korean society. And sometimes people have asked me, though I wouldn't know why are Koreans so into the couple mindset and romanticizing things, especially maybe more the younger generation. But you know, Christmas is more of a couple holiday and those kind of environments. But so you get these in the music as well. And there's the tragic love, but very self-sacrificial sense, the puppy love, the attraction, and there's more confidence themes popping up now. But you very rarely get family, friendship, life commentary, anything that's more reflective of the self. So modern lyric trends, as I was saying, there's a greater proliferation of English, especially used in repetition. And you can see in the really big song Wonder Girls did called Nobody, that they later promoted in the US. About half of it is in English, though it's very repetitive English. And then at the end there's a whole rap that ends the song in English. And you compare that to g.o.d's big hit with Onge in 1998, and it's just a wall of Korean text. So those were all the observations I made, and the other work I've been doing. I had a blog that I would write about issues and news and my thoughts on them. And as well as I had some interviews with different people in the industry. Junior Park, who did some music videos with some singers, more low profile and older singers, but also did a media promotion with, I think, Phyla and 21. And then I asked an indie producer and club owner about his opinion on the music industry. I asked some people also in SM and JYP. So I would ask them what their opinions were on the current scene, on the creation, what they saw of different roles and how much entertainers could play. And it's mostly what you probably would suspect, that entertainers don't have a big hand in what they make, though they can give their opinions, and not everything's as horrible as gossip will say, but everything's mostly controlled by the companies. And these were things I found as either good or bad. So the good is that there's a new sense of Korean identity through K-pop, and you can argue, I think that goes on both sides when you see what kind of identity is being made, especially because of the bad, there's a lack of diversity, and it's very top-heavy and controlled by the companies that train the artists. Other parts of the good are it's an international doorway. It's a way for people to know about Korea and be interested in Korea and want to understand and learn more about this country. And it does have remnants of the culture in it, in the language and in some of the videos. It builds a sense of community with people who are interested in Korean and who like Korea. And there's, of course, the fun factor. Pop is usually for fun, and that shouldn't be discounted as well. But on the other side, these are things I personally always look for, and creativity, musicianship, and a link between the artist and the music they make, and I think those two are really severely lacking, as well as I think all of it the whole system creates a very strong idea of objectification in the singers through the fan clubs, through their appearance, and through the company treatment. So I don't know if I have any more time. Maybe we should just go to 5 minutes? Okay. So kind of as the most recent case study, I wanted to showcase JYJ, a former group Dongbang Shingi. How many people in here recognize this group, either the threesome or the fivesome? Raise your hands high. Okay, so this group. So Dongbang Shingi was really big, and you either usually loved or hated them. In 2008, which is their last album, Jumun, and the single was Neurotic. They had sold over 500,000 albums in Korea, which means they might have finally gotten paid. It came out in their contract that they didn't get paid until they got over a certain number of albums. But they were in the Guinness Book of World Records for biggest fan club, over 800,000 members at one point registered, and as well as they're also in the book for most pictures taken by any artist. So they estimate that millions of pictures have been taken for all the work and spreads that they do in magazines and everything else. So, but in 2009, after the height of their success, these three members filed a legal injunction against SM Entertainment. And there was a lot of controversy. People were wondering if they'd get back together. It doesn't seem like that now. And the two remaining members stayed with SM Entertainment, and it seems like there's been a lot of miscommunication and bad feeling on both sides after that. And then they continued under the Japanese label, AVEX, for a while, because SM tends to push their artists to the Japanese market. Japan has
7 o'clock.
Sorry, my computer announces the hour. Keeping track of time, very good. So Japanese market is the second biggest in the world in terms of revenue, because they still buy physical albums and they don't do as much piracy. So Korea will often push their artists there, and you're seeing that with YG artists too, Big Bang, 21 now as well. So a lot of people will try to go there with the Hallyu power. They were able to continue under their company for a while, but then there were all these articles released, and they basically got traded out for more SM artists. SM withdrew their artists from AVEX because they have a long relationship together. They withdrew Sonoshide and Super Junior, and next thing you knew, JYJ activities were stalled under AVEX, and they had to find a new company and find other outlets. So you rarely see them on TV now, even though they always get a lot of buzz otherwise, though it's very hard to find, but online. They've tried to go through other outlets. One who's known for his singing ability did musicals, another one went into concert directing, and the one on the very right went into dramas. So they're trying to still continue their careers through other outlets, but because SM Entertainment, the biggest entertainment company in Korea, was their former company and they split on bad terms, they're not really able to access anything else. And they didn't even release a Korean album until just recently, but they went into an English album instead to try to do promotions outside of Korea. And it's not official that SM is blocking them, but it's kind of well known as under the table. Back in 2002, there was a big corruption payola scandal, and since then, a lot of companies have cleaned up their act on paper and officially, so it's harder to see exactly how things are changing hands. But SM definitely has a lot of influence, And that's also tied to how much TV shows and media and the music market depend on each other, because SM can pull out their artists anytime from shows. So that's kind of an overview of what I've been doing, as well as the conclusions I came to lyrics and how the industry and culture has been played. I know it was a lot of information and I had to go through the last bit really fast. Maybe I lost some of you guys during the lyrics part and of the crazy video, but thank you very much for listening, and I hope you guys learned a lot and found it interesting. If we have time for questions, or okay, we can go to questions. Yes.
Okay. Who's responsible?
Oh, does he need to get a mic, or is it okay?
Sorry. Which one? Okay. Where's the question?
Okay, my name is Casey. So you mentioned the local versus international. How much of that is because of comfort with English?
The
or
local.
Korean?
You mean for JYJ or for?
Right, so you mentioned that there's some
distribution?
artists who are popular locally but maybe not internationally, and then in reverse. So how much of that is just because of English? And then second, you understand what I'm saying?
You mean their English ability?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because if you're an artist, maybe you don't want to go abroad if you're not really comfortable with English. Why would you try and go and sing somewhere else if they'll interview you on TV or the radio and you can't really handle it?
Okay.
The first question.
First question.
Then second, who
Second
would you
question.
say is most responsible for all of this?
Okay. The first question, actually English ability in the Hallyu wave hasn't played a big role. That's the interesting thing, and it's kind of one of the main factors and proponents of the Hallyu wave. They sing in Korean and they're able to have that K-pop image and not have to adjust as much, and they're still accepted and seen as very trendy and likable and revered in a sense. People imitate them. So the English ability really only plays in when they're trying to aspire to go to the US market. And from the past attempts with BoA and Wonder Girls and Seven and Rain, you can tell it hasn't been very successful at all because of their inability in being fluent English speakers. Did that answer the first question? Okay. And the second question was, remind me again.
Who gets credit?
Oh, for the whole system?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting question. On the resources page, on the handout you might have gotten, you'll see I have 3 sites listed by a writer named Mark Russell, and he kind of goes into that. He says that we shouldn't just blame the companies, but it's also a responsibility of the consumers and people in Korea who make music. He says people need to demand more and there needs to be more of a live scene, which I do agree with, but I do think that there's still a very big role played by the companies and how much they restrict and the systems they've set, because I think the whole training system, which is instituted and standard, is really detrimental as well. Yes?
You mentioned at the beginning of your presentation the difference between K-pop and Hallyu.
Sorry, between K-pop and what?
And Hallyu.
Oh, and Hallyu?
I was wondering if you could tell me more about that, like in terms of like style or government support.
Okay. Well, what I meant by the difference between K-pop and Hallyu, it's not exactly that there are this rigid dichotomy between the two, but more because coming to Korea was a part of seeing the local reception and how music plays more of a role with people who actually live here, and how it's broadcast, how it's distributed, as opposed to all the online channels that I get being in the US or somewhere else. Through that, it's all on the internet and these fan sites. And so coming here and then looking at all this data and learning more about the history, you see that there is this interest in non-Hallyu stars and non-idol genres, but that's not reflected in what gets international attention. And I think as a result, because the government is pushing so much for international attention through a number of avenues, K-pop is often used as one of those proponents, and there's actually a recent article and survey where K-pop has kind of overtaken, in terms of entertainment mediums, overtaken like dramas and movies as the proponent for Korean culture. And so I think the Korean government gave something like a $69 million grant to the music industry to continue promoting K-pop somehow. So there's definitely a government role as well. Yes.
I'm curious, when you looked at the themes of the songs and how it reflects on all the Korean culture in comparison to how, if we look at the US pop songs right now, the themes that are being reflected there, how different it is in comparison to other, what are the themes around the world now when it comes to pop songs? How different it is here, or maybe it's not.
Right. I definitely thought about that because I never wanted it to be about a certain country's music being better or, discounting one pop over another because, someone can just say it's all pop. How are you going to judge it? But I think it was just the very fixed idea for the majority are love songs, and then within the love songs, the language that's used is often recycled. We see recycled phrases and language, and there's not that much play with the language. There's not that much originality, even with you could see with the repetition and English insertion, and I don't know if I wasn't sure if it was my American point of view, but when it's translated, it comes off as very kind of cheesy and over-affected, maybe because it's just so prevalent and it's the only kind of language that's used. I feel like in the US, when I look at songs, there's more creativity with the language, and there's also there's love, but there's also a lot of identity songs as well, and I think there's a big disconnect because none of the artists have any say and connection with their music and what they sing, and their identities and their images are changed even within the same album when you look at their outfits or their dances. So there's no real stayed connection. And I think that's all the time we have, but thank you very much, and if anyone wants to talk more afterwards, feel free to come up to me and give me,